Alright gang, it's vanilla time. Are you a fan of vanilla fragrances as much as I am? Let me know, put a comment down below. But we're talking about vanilla fragrances today. I've been receiving multiple messages and comments from you guys asking me to do an updated vanilla fragrances video. But you're also asking me to do more than the typical 20 lists that I do. You've asked for 35, a top 35, a top 40, a top 50. And today that's what I'm giving you, is a list of 50 vanilla fragrances. But we're doing the list in chronological order, going all the way back to the beginning of the 2000s and all the way to today. So if you're interested in learning about vanilla, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about vanilla. This is not going to be a video that's typical of my other top 20s. We're going to do the fragrances really quickly, so we're going to go through them quickly so we can get through 50 fragrances really fast. And let's go ahead and get started. The first fragrance we're going to talk about is from the house of PROFUMUM ROMA. This is DULCIS in FUNDO, this one right here. The house of PROFUMUM ROMA has some great gourmands. This is one of them. In the end, this is kind of like a sugar cookie, a vanillic sugar cookie, but it has loads of vanillic touches and citrusy touches, so there's some citrus sweetness in there. In the end, it becomes kind of lightly caramelly and of course ambery as well. So this is from 2001. It's DULCIS in FUNDO from the house of PROFUMUM ROMA. Going to the house of SERGE LUTENS next, it's Vanille, this one right here from 2003. This, I would say, it's kind of a masculine leaning vanilla fragrance, and it features kind of sweet touches, woods, and of course powderiness and an overdose of vanilla, but for sure there's some kind of light resinous and touches and some spices in there as well. So this is Vanille from the house of SERGE LUTENS. Next, going to the house of GUERLAIN, this is ANGELIQUE Noir, this one right here from 2005, and this is a musky, powdery, sweet amber floral vanilla fragrance, and definitely has that Angelica note, kind of bitter green and powdery for sure, and it creates for a muskiness in the fragrance, but it's really yummy with the vanilla in here. So ANGELIQUE Noir from the house of GUERLAIN, launched in 2005. Next, going to the house of COMPTOIR PACIFIQUE. This is Vanilla Extreme, this one right here, and this is kind of a budget fragrance house for sure, and this particular fragrance is definitely sweet, milky, and lactonic with powdery touches and vanilla. In the end, it's kind of very syrupy, an overdose of vanilla, and of course you have the milky lactonic touches, and this is Vanilla Extreme from the house of COMPTOIR PACIFIQUE. Moving on to the house of LALIQUE, this is Le Parfum, this one right here, also from 2005. This is a sweet aromatic powdery vanilla, but you've got some green touches in there. Definitely the aromatics and herbalness in here, but very powdery and a bit ambery vanilla. So this is LALIQUE Le Parfum from 2005. Then going to the house of INDULT, it's TIHOTA, this one right here from 2006. This is created by Francis Cruikshank, but this is kind of a marshmallowy, caramelly, fluffy, powdery, sweet vanilla fragrance. Really delicious. TIHOTA is so yummy, guys. If you don't know that one, do check it out. Up next, going to the house of Tom Ford, it's Tobacco Vanille from 2007. This has to be on this list. It's one of my favorite fragrances from Tom Ford, but in the end it's a sweet, spicy, warm, powdery vanilla fragrance with some light fruits in there, some light cacao touches, chocolatey, and of course it gives you a holiday vibe. So this is Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille from 2007. And then moving on to the house of GUERLAIN, this is Spiritueuse Double Vanille, definitely has to be on the list here from 2007. It's definitely very warm and spicy. It has boozy touches, kind of like the idea of cooking vanilla, and of course balsamic amber vanilla. Totally a delicious fragrance. I love that one. It's Spiritueuse Double Vanille from 2007. Then going to the house of Van Cleef and Arpels, it's Orchidee Vanille. Orchidee Vanille. This is also really yummy from 2009. Very sweet, very powdery, a bit chocolatey, gooey, syrupy, molassesy, ambery vanilla. I think it's kind of an underrated one, but definitely worth checking out if you don't know that one. It's Orchidee Vanille from the house of Van Cleef and Arpels. Moving on to the house of XERJOFF's CASAMORATI line, it's LIRA. And LIRA for me is kind of like Madeline's, sweet citrusy Madeline's cookies and things like that. In the end, it's kind of sweet and citrusy, definitely has the orange note, but along with that there's caramel and vanilla touches for sure. It's a vanilla bomb. It's CASAMORATI LIRA from the house of XERJOFF. Check that out if you don't know it. Moving on to the house of Imaginary Authors, this is Memoirs of a Trespasser from 2012, and this one's definitely on the woody side. I'd say this is very masculine for sure, but along the way you'll have lots of woods here, here, amberiness for sure. It becomes amber vanillic, and then there's a spicy resinous touches for sure as well. So this is Memoirs of a Trespasser from the House of Imaginary Authors. Moving on to the House of Alexandre J. This is ZAFEER Oud Vanille, this one right here. An expensive once again. It's from 2012 and it's got sweet coconutty touches. Of course it's an overdose of syrupy ambery vanilla, but along the way you also have oud. I don't think the oud is very prominent or pronounced for me, but some of you might think it is. But in the end it's definitely worth mentioning here. It's ZAFEER Oud Vanille from 2012. And then going to the House of Diptyque from 2013, it's the Eau de Well EDP. The original came out in 2010. This one has some dark smoky touches, a bit incensey, but for sure there's spicy vanillic overdose here as well. And a bit of, I would say, kind of like church-like incense. So in the end, it definitely has the darkness in there, but very, very spicy and vanillic, and a delicious vanilla fragrance that Fabrice Pellegrin has created for Diptyque. So that is Eau de Well from Diptyque. All right, up next, going to the House of Dior, one of two Dior fragrances. This is Fahrenheit, a male targeted release, which I feel like is very, very unisex. It came out in 2014. I bought it when they first put it out in Paris. I was there on a trip. And this to me is a soft, spicy, ozonic violet vanilla fragrance. And of course it has some booziness in there and has some leathery touches, of course, but it's very syrupy, sweet vanilla, and definitely, as I said, very unisex for a male fragrance. So this is Fahrenheit Parfum from the House of Dior. Then moving on to the House of Atelier des Ors, this is Lune Feline. It's definitely warm and spicy, musky as well, and it has balsamic woody touches when it's drying down, but in the end it's definitely a very gooey vanilla powdery touches for sure as well. So Lune Feline from the year 2015 is the 14th fragrance we're talking about. Then also in 2015, a fragrance from the House of Initio Parfums. This is Absolute Aphrodisiac, this one right here. Now this one to me, it's vanilla, and you definitely have the vanilla touches for sure. It's lots of vanilla, but it has smoky touches and leathery touches as well. So it creates for not necessarily uber sweet vanilla, but in the end, you have to like leather in fragrances to enjoy this vanilla and the smokiness for sure as well. And it's of course drying down to a powdery amber vanillic thing. So this is Absolute Aphrodisiac from the House of Initio Parfums. That is from 2015. Then moving on to the House of Jeroboam. This one is called Insolo, and this is also from 2015, and this one's also very spicy and gooey and syrupy and ambery for sure. It has musky touches, definitely powdery, some light floral things happening in there as well, sweet and spicy vanilla, really yummy from Jeroboam. It's Insolo from 2015. And then moving on to the House of Quinto Canto, this is Mirabile, this one right here, launched in 2015 as well. Now this one to me has the textural resinous touches for sure. There's definitely resins here, but in the end it's kind of a sweet, powdery, ambery vanilla with light lactonic touches, and of course definitely those resinous ambery touches as well. So Mirabile from 2015 is at the 17th place here. Then we've got the House of Mancera with Velvet Vanilla, this one right here from 2016. This one to me is very musky and powdery, but an overdose of white flowers like tuberose and jasmine in here with the overdose of vanilla. So you gotta like the white flower touch with vanilla, and if you like the idea or the combo, definitely this will work for you. And then of course it's kind of leaning on the feminine side, but either way, Velvet Vanilla from 2016 is definitely worth mentioning here. Next, moving on to the House of Sous le Manteau. This is Cuir d'Orient, this one right here. This one launched in 2016. This collection of fragrances from this house seem to be all very powdery, and this is a vanilla overdose with powdery touches. And of course it's got muskiness and amberiness in there as well, and eventually kind of becomes a bit leathery when it's drying down. That's why it's called Cuir d'Orient. Really yummy stuff here. This is from the House of Sous le Manteau from 2016. Moving on to the House of Mercedes-Benz. This is Club Black, this one right here. A really inexpensive and budget-friendly vanilla fragrance that's definitely worth mentioning here. It's from 2017. And in the end, it's very warm and spicy with balsamic ambery touches along with the overdose of vanilla. So Club Black from the House of Mercedes-Benz from 2017. Then moving on to the House of Tiziana Terenzi. This is Dionisio here from 2018. Now this one is definitely vanillic for sure, and then also spicy too, but it has oud and it also has ambergris to create kind of a animalic undertone there. So you gotta be into the idea of animalics with vanilla to enjoy this one, but in the end it's musky, oudy, woody, animalic vanilla here from Tiziana Terenzi. It's called Dionisio. Have you guys tried that one? Let me know. Next, moving on to the house of Wilhelm Parfumery. This is Poets of Berlin, this one right here. And this one actually, it's a vanilla that I like to wear in the summertime, in the warm, in the heat. It kind of blooms and becomes really delicious on me. So it's from 2018. It's got woody touches, definitely very powdery and fruitiness in there as well. And vanilla, and I think there's a little bit of a green undertone there running throughout it as well, which is what's creating the idea of me wearing this in the summertime and enjoying a kind of like warm fragrances when traditionally people wear the, you know, the kind of like cool, fresh fragrances. So that is Poets of Berlin from the house of Wilhelm Parfumery. And then the house of Celine and their vanilla fragrance. It's Black Tie. And Black Tie to me definitely has the characteristic or the DNA of other Celine fragrances. It's powderiness with overdose of orris, so there's definitely lots of orris here, along with that powdery vanilla. Eventually it becomes very, very woody, and it has earthy touches as well with the orris and vanilla. So this is Black Tie from Celine, launched in 2019. And then moving on to the house of Juliet Has a Gun. This is Vanilla Vibes. I think this is what kickstarted that kind of beachy, salty, marine vanilla kick that we've been seeing a lot of fragrances come up. And this is a sweet, salty fragrance, of course, very beachy and vanilla, and there's definitely the idea of a marine thing happening under there as well. But in the end, it's quite nice. I really enjoy it, and it's a great offering from the house of Juliet Has a Gun, Vanilla Vibes from 2019. And then from the house of Essential Parfums, it's Divine Vanille, this one right here, created by Olivier Pechot. For me, it's warm, spicy, it's amber, vanilla, a bit tobacco dirtiness in there, ashiness in there, and of course an overdose of spices and the vanilla in here. It does remind me of Herod, but this is kind of like a budget, offering for something to be an alternative for Herod. But Divine Vanille from the house of Essential Parfums is the 25th fragrance, and it was launched in 2019. But moving on to the next fragrance, the 26th fragrance in this list, it's from the house of Penhaligon's. It's Babylon, launched in 2019, and definitely a delicious fragrance that I used to speak a lot about, and I just took it out and smelled it, and it smells fantastic. I had forgotten all about it. But in the end, it's woody, powdery, and spicy vanilla. Lots of vanilla here. A bit of smokiness running throughout it from that papyrus or cypriol note that's in here. So Babylon from the house of Penhaligon's, launched in 2019. Then moving on to the house of Nishane, it's Ani from 2019 also. And this is a great creation. Very warm and spicy, but also fresh spiciness in here with woods and vanilla. And I feel like ginger and cardamom really dominate there, along with sandalwood, to make for a wonderful, intoxicating fragrance. Then moving on to the house of Les Parfums de Rosine. This is Vanille Paradox, this one right here, from 2019 once again. And this one also has fresh, spicy touches, along with warmth under there as well, with the vanilla and some other spices, but lots of aromatics and woods in here as well. Really yummy. It's powdery and a bit syrupy. It's Vanille Paradox from the house of Les Parfums de Rosine. Next, going to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian from 2019, it's Gentle Fluidity Gold. This one is a very woody, powdery fragrance with loads of ambery, vanillic touches as well. It's definitely got the golden idea. That's why it's called Fluidity, Gentle Fluidity Gold. And it's also meant to be worn individually or layered with Gentle Fluidity Silver, but definitely has the DNA of Maison Francis Kurkdjian in there as well. So Gentle Fluidity Gold from 2019. Then moving on to the house of Givenchy from their La Collection Particulière fragrances. This is Enflammé from 2020. It's got warmth, it's got spices, it's got sweet tobacco-ish touches, and of course vanilla overdose here. Nothing like tobacco vanilla or anything like that, but definitely something really fun to wear. Enflammé from the house of Givenchy. That is a great fragrance that launched in 2020. And then another one from the house of Les Indomptables. This is Vanille Havane, this one right here. This one also came out in 2020. A lot of people compare this to tobacco vanilla. Maybe it has some light reminders in there, but for me it's a sweet, boozy tobacco fragrance with a bit of spices in there, some cacao, and of course the overdose of vanilla. So this is Vanille Havane from the house of Les Indomptables. Alright, up next, going to the house of Christian Louboutin. It's Louis Rouge, this one right here from 2020. This is a warm, spicy, powdery vanilla fragrance in the style of Louboutin fragrances. There's definitely spices in here, loads of like spicy touches, some aromatics, fresh and warm notes that are combined together with the syrupy, powdery vanilla here. Very ambery as well. So this is Ruby Rouge from the house of Christian Louboutin. Next, going to the house of Jo Malone. This is Vetiver and Golden Vanilla. Very unique combo, and it really works really great. It kind of tones down the sweetness from the vanilla here because there's an overdose of vetiver in here. So it's warm, spicy, definitely aromatic, a bit green and woody vanilla fragrance. So this is Vetiver and Golden Vanilla from 2020. And then the next fragrance, we're going back to the house, well, not back, we're going to the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is Color Vanille, this one right here. And this is definitely a salty marine vanilla fragrance. Definitely has those touches in here, but in the end it's sweet and salty for sure. Powdery, and then it has an ambery vanillic touches when it's drying down. And in the end, it's a wonderful fragrance from the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is Color Vanille from 2020. Next, going to the house of Obvious Parfums. This is Une Vanille right here from 2020 again. This is a sweet, musky, powdery vanilla fragrance. Kind of simplistic, but a bit complex, but very delicious. You can wear it on its own. It makes for a great bed scent. These are not very expensive fragrances. You can also layer with other fragrances from this house. So Une Vanille from the house of Obvious Parfums from 2020. And then moving on to the house of Montal. This is Dark Vanilla. I decided to go with Dark Vanilla because it's different. I was looking for different vanilla fragrances. This one's definitely more on the masculine side, launched in 2020. It's lots of woods. There's leather here. It's warm, spicy, ambery touches, and of course, very vanillic as well. But when I say very vanillic, remember we've got the woods and the leather kind of toning down the vanillic touches. But this is Dark Vanilla from 2020 from the house of Montal. And then going to the house of Maison Tahiti. This is Van Ecstasy. Stay tuned for a video on the whole entire vanilla collection of fragrances from Maison Tahiti tomorrow. So this is kind of like a vanilla weekend before it gets really hot out there for spring and summer. But this is a sweet, spicy, woody, balsamic, caramelly vanilla fragrance. Really delicious, one of the best from this house. Van Ecstasy from the house of Maison Tahiti is yummy. And speaking of the house of Maison Tahiti and their sister house, Laboratorio Olfativo, this is Vanagloria, a wonderful fragrance from 2021. It's warm, spicy, smoky, ambery, and vanilla. So there's definitely this kind of ashy, burned incense touch running throughout the fragrance, and the vanilla kind of gets toned down. It's still sweet and ambery, but definitely you've got those kind of spicy, incensey kind of touches in here. So Vanagloria from 2021. Next, going to the house of Amouage, it's Material here from 2021 as well. And this one's definitely got that kind of balsamic resinous texture under there with like lots of vanilla and amber. So there's also warm and spicy touches running throughout it. So really yummy fragrance created by Cécile Zarokian. Material is from 2021. And then this is a recent discovery. I discovered it late last year, and it's a really yummy vanilla fragrance launched in 2021. This is Maison Mataha's Escapade Gourmand. For me, it's kind of like a custard vanilla fragrance. Imagine dipping into that kind of vanilla custard and you're eating it. It's got that kind of texture, so it's kind of like plump and creamy. Really yummy fragrance. Sweet, milky, powdery, musky vanilla. Escapade Gourmand from Maison Mataha. That's a wonderful vanilla fragrance, guys. If you don't know it, check it out. Next, going to the house of Dior. This is the second Dior fragrance. It's Vanilla Diorama. I have to include this one. From 2021. In the end, it's got warm touches, lots of them. There's spiciness here. There's boozy touches, of course. Woods and amber, and then also a dusting of cacao chocolate thing all over the vanilla that's in here with the overdose of vanilla. So it's Vanilla Diorama from 2021. And then we're going to the house of Goldfield and Banks with my sample here. I don't have my bottle, it's all broken, but it's Silky Woods from 2021. And Silky Woods is warm and spicy, powdery, woody vanilla fragrance. There's a little bit of a funky oud thing in there, but it's very, very minute amount, so it's not going to overwhelm. But either way, Silky Woods is a great fragrance that was launched in 2021. Up next, going to the house of Sora Dora, it's Orchidee Rouge, this one right here from 2021 once again. And this is kind of a nutty, sweet, caramelly, powdery vanilla fragrance. Sweet and delicious, very, very cozy and comfy, and it really gives me a very happy feeling when I smell this stuff. Orchidee Rouge from the house of Sora Dora. From 2021, and then another fragrance that launched in 2021 from the house of Jovoy. It's Fire at Will, this one right here. This is definitely sweet and powdery for sure, but also fluffy and musky, and then with the ambery vanillic touches when it's drying down. Really very cozy, really wonderful, yummy fragrance. It's Fire at Will from the house of Jovoy. And then going to the house of M. Micallef, this is Note Vanille. Note Vanille from 2022, although this had been launched much earlier. This is Note Vanille. As I said, it's got booziness in here, powderiness, lots of amber woods, and you know, the overdose of vanilla. Very, very comfy. This one's really yummy. I'm glad they re-released it. I never got to smell the original, but this is quite delicious. So Note Vanille from the house of M. Mikolov. And then going to the house of Rirana Parfum, this is a vanilla tea. This one right here, something different, right? This is from 2022. It's sweet and vanillic. It's fruity, citrusy, vanilla. Definitely has the tea in there, and of course the tea is very cozy, relaxes and soothes, and of course vanilla is very comforting to begin with. So the whole experience here is very, very you know, laid back and chill. So this is vanilla tea from the house of Rirana Parfum. And then of course we got to include this one, the hotly sought after fragrance from the house of YSL. It's Baby Cat. Baby Cat is from 2022. It's warm, spicy, very leathery and smoky vanilla. So there's differences with the leather, I feel like, between Baby Cat and of course Vanagloria. So we get a bit of a suede leather touch with Baby Cat in comparison to Vanagloria, but in the end I think they're very similar and really delicious vanilla. This is Baby Cat from YSL. And then this is Vanille Antique from Byredo. This one right here. Very, very delicious. This might have a little fruitiness in here and also some light booziness, but in the end it's amber, woods, powdery vanilla fragrance from the house of Byredo. More expensive collection from Byredo, but really yummy fragrance. It's Vanille Antique from Byredo. And then we're gonna end the list with this fragrance because I couldn't find a release date for this one. This is going to the house of Commodity. It's gold in the regular version, not the plus or the minus. This fragrance to me is definitely very spicy and powdery. There's aromatic touches in there and woods as well, but in the end it's ambery, vanillic overdose here and very, very delicious to wear. So gold, the regular gold from the house of Commodity, is the last fragrance we're going to talk about today. Anyway, those are the 50 vanilla fragrances that I recommend. You should check these ones out if you don't know them. Let me know other vanilla fragrances that I might have missed or have never spoken about. Always looking for vanilla fragrances, and I'd like to check out more. Maybe we can do a list of 100 next time. But other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.